Canadian environmental services company GFL announcing today it's relocating its headquarters from Vaughan, Ontario, just north of Toronto, to Miami Beach, Florida. For more on this is the founder and CEO of GFL, Patrick Dovigi. Thank you very much for joining us, Patrick.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Why the move? Other than what we're looking at the weather outside, you're in this area, I think, right now. Are you down in Miami right now?
I'm actually in Whistler at an investor conference, at the CIBC investor conference.
Well, we're getting snow in Vaughan. So why the move down to Florida? Why the relocation of the executive headquarters?
I think when we sort of look at, being a public company, and, the availability of having, the availability to the U.S. indices and U.S. index inclusion, we just thought it was a very logical step for us to make this move. I think when you look at some of the likes of Brookfield and RB Global, and some of the rules around the S&P changes and where you're allowed to be included, I think this is a logical step given that we didn't have to actually give anything up in Canada from an index perspective. So we still have the ability to be included on the indices in Canada because we're remaining a Canadian incorporated company. But by making a slight change to, a corporate head office, that gives us the ability to get indexed on certain indices in the U.S., which opens up significant pools of capital for us as a company.
And why is that important? Do you feel all the growth that is your main growth is going to be in the U.S.?
No, I just think as we look to broaden our investor base, I think, there are a bunch of pockets of capital in the U.S., and obviously the U.S. being sort of the largest capital markets pools in the world. There's multiple funds, and we have, existing investors within our business today. The likes of Fidelity and Capital and others that have other pockets of capital that are more tied to indices. And I think we just have the ability to attract more pools of capital and pockets of capital from those types of investors by having index inclusion both in U.S. as well as Canada.
And did the tariffs and the uncertainty of everything that's unfolding, were those factors in it?
No, no impact because of the tariffs, et cetera. And, no change to the business in general. This is simply just a corporate head office change.
And benefit, you'll be paying taxes now on both sides. I assume you'll be paying taxes on both sides. Are there benefits to doing that?
No.
Or is that just part of doing business?
Just part of doing business. We're a Canadian incorporated company with also parts of our business that are corporate in the U.S. We pay taxes in both countries. So again, no impact from a tax perspective on the company.
Now, any concerns for Canadians and up here investors and people who use GFL that they might get lost in this a little bit as your focus goes more and more towards the U.S. and beyond?
No one will see any change. Today already 70% of our revenue comes from the U.S. Canada's been home for a long time. It's where we founded the company back in 2007. And, I think as you'll see, you're going to continue to see big green trucks rolling around Canada for a long period of time. My entire family still lives in Canada. So, I think it's just the right thing for us to do at the right time, just to attract pockets of new capital that we previously don't have in the capital structures, which should do very well for investors that continue to be invested in the name.
And have you had a chance to any expectations of how much capital you're hoping to raise, or what your plans for it, and where do you plan to direct it?
Yeah, we're not raising any incremental new capital. It's just broadening the shareholder base, and as a couple of our large shareholders exit over time, those incremental pockets of capital could be there behind to sort of pick up incremental dollars that may or may not come from them.
And why Miami for this? Are you looking south when it comes to opportunities? There's like in the southern part of the U.S. and even down into Central and South America?
Southeast has been our biggest growth trajectory over the last 3 to 4 years. As you know, the U.S. in its own rights, we're big believers in the Southeast and through the Carolinas and into the Gulf and up through the Midwest. And just, Florida is one of those states that seems to be open for business and seems to be attracting a lot of new growth from various parts of the country in the U.S., just given, political regimes and some positions taken by other states. There just seems to be an influx of population growth into the Southeast, and we just felt that was the logical place to be.
And now, obviously, there's been some volatility, shall we say, in the relationships between Canada and the U.S. And we heard Trump in his speech today say he was disappointed. Canada, he doesn't feel like Canada has paid enough respects, essentially. I guess it boils down to any concerns about being a Canadian company moving down there, like moving your headquarters down? I know you're already down there, but any concerns about relocating down there with that, with the atmosphere that's going on right now?
I mean, that's the political rhetoric. But I think when you look at, I think these two countries have worked well together for a very long period of time. We've worked on both sides of the border for a long period of time. We have a great group of U.S. employees, and we have an amazing group of Canadian employees who all work really well together, and will continue to work well together, even in this, political backdrop that is playing out in the media. But I think the underlying is you have two great countries with great people in both countries that generally aligned and have very common goals. So, we still see long-term value in that as well.
Does it feel like business is business beyond all the politics with anybody you deal with down there?
Yeah, I think it's business as usual. We're in the waste business. Every day people are creating waste and generating waste. And I think, again, there's been a mutual respect between these two countries for a long period of time. And I don't anticipate that is going to change anytime soon.
And just one last about the headquarters up here. What kind of an impact on employees, people being let go, or people moving down to Florida?
No, I mean, our largest hubs today are in Vaughan and in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is more focused on sort of corporate executives. So, I mean, we're talking about, 12 to 15 individuals that are moving south. We still employ, thousands of people in Canada. I think today our Canadian headcount is north of 10,000 individuals, and none of those jobs are going anywhere.
And are you bringing Canadian executives down, and will you still be looking to try and recruit Canadians to come down and work for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, again, the lion's share of the executive team is Canadian today. We have a mixture of U.S. Executives as well, which will relocate as well. But listen, whoever's best fit for the job will continue being employed, and we'll get the jobs.
Okay, Patrick, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Patrick Dovigi is founder and CEO of GFL Environmental.